The sun of the distant star system burned softly over the grand interstellar academy as Era stepped through its tall, silver gates. She walked with small, quiet steps, her hands gripping the ends of the long scarf wrapped around her neck. The scarf was old, simple, and not very pretty compared to the shiny clothes many alien students wore, yet she held it as if it was the most important thing she owned. Underneath it rested something she had spent her whole life hiding. She hoped today would not be the day it woke up. The academy campus spread out in wide arcs of floating platforms, violet trees with crystal leaves, and tall buildings made of smooth, light metal. Students of every kind filled the walkways. Some were tall with bright scales that glittered. Others were small, floating gently above the ground. A few had wings folded behind their backs. And in the middle of all those shapes and colors walked a single human girl. Most aliens had only read about humans in data tablets. They knew humans were a new species in the Galactic Union, still learning the rules of life beyond their home world. Some thought humans were interesting, but most believed they were soft, loud, and weak. Era could hear the whispers as she passed. "She is so tiny. Humans do not handle high-energy fields well. Why would they even send her here?" Era did not look at them. She kept her eyes down and her breathing slow. If she stayed calm, the mark under her scarf would stay calm too. She had learned that the hard way when she was young. The mark reacted to strong emotion, and she had promised herself she would never lose control again. Her first class of the day was Energy Resonance Basics. A tall insect-like alien instructor with shining purple eyes welcomed everyone in a calm voice. The classroom looked like a round arena with glowing rings on the floor. Students sat around the edges, each waiting for their turn to test their energy signature. Era quietly slipped into a corner seat. A few students noticed her and exchanged smirks. The instructor clapped his long hands together. "We will begin with simple resonance testing. Each of you will stand inside the ring, and the system will measure your natural energy flow. This is not dangerous. It is simply a reading. Let us begin." One by one, aliens stepped into the ring. Some glowed bright blue, some green, others sparkled with white sparks or dark swirling shadows. Each reading drew cheers from their friends. Era watched silently, memorizing the patterns, trying to understand how they controlled themselves so easily. When the instructor finally called her name, silence fell across the room. Era stood up slowly and walked to the center of the ring. She kept her hands tight against her scarf. "Do not be nervous," the instructor said kindly. "This test is simple. Just breathe." Era nodded. She tried to slow her heart. She tried to keep her energy quiet. She tried to make the mark stay asleep. The ring activated. A faint hum rose around her. Light beams scanned her body. For a moment, everything seemed normal. Then the hum deepened. The ring flickered. A soft, golden glow leaked out from the edges of her scarf. Era quickly grabbed the scarf and pressed it tight against her skin. She forced her breathing to slow. She repeated the calming words she had been taught since childhood. The glow faded. The ring steadied. The machine gave a reading so low that the aliens burst into laughter. "Is that even a number? Humans really are weak. Maybe the machine broke from trying to find anything." Era stepped out of the ring, bowing her head politely. She felt heat rise in her cheeks, but she held it down. She reminded herself that mocking words were better than fear. Fear made people dangerous. The instructor frowned at his device. Strange. It is almost as if she tried to hide the reading. But he did not press her. He moved on. The rest of the class continued, but Era barely heard it. She spent the whole time checking her scarf, making sure the mark had gone still again. When class ended, she packed her things quickly. She waited until most students had left, then slipped out quietly. She walked to the far end of campus where few students liked to go. There was a small garden with soft blue grass and tall trees that glowed faintly in the dark. She sat under one of them and finally let herself breathe freely. "It almost woke up," she whispered. "Not here. Not now. Not in front of them." She touched the edge of her scarf carefully. Beneath it, her skin felt warm, as if something ancient was stirring. Something powerful. Something she did not fully understand. She had known since she was young that she was different. Her mother had told her the story many times. Long ago on Earth, before humans learned science and left their planet, some families carried strange marks on their skin. Marks that glowed when they felt strong emotions. Marks that carried energy no one could explain. People called them dragon marks. Though no dragons lived on Earth, the name simply fit the power wild, mysterious, and too strong for most humans to control. Era's mother had the mark. So did her grandmother. When Era was born, the family knew she had inherited it too. They taught her how to hide it, how to cover it with cloth, how to calm it when it stirred. When the Galactic Union discovered Earth and invited humans to join the stars, her parents feared what might happen if the wider galaxy noticed the mark. Some nations loved powerful species. Others feared them. None would ignore something so strange, but Era had insisted on joining the academy. She wanted to help humans grow in the new galaxy. She wanted to learn, not hide. She wanted to prove that even a human with a strange power could be peaceful. Yet days like today made her wonder if she was wrong. As she sat under the glowing tree, she heard footsteps. Someone approached. She quickly fixed her scarf and stood up. It was a group of young aliens from her class. They looked down at her with smirks. "Human girl," one said. "We saw your test. You barely have any energy. Why do you even train here?" "You should go home before you get hurt," another added. Era kept her voice steady. "I am here to learn just like you." They laughed. "Learn what?" "How to fail." The mark beneath the scarf pulsed once. Era felt a warm spark run down her spine. She inhaled sharply and forced it back down. She did not want trouble. She did not want to lose control. "Please," she said softly. "Leave me alone." But the group only laughed harder. One of them reached out to tug at the end of her scarf. Era stepped back quickly, clutching it tightly. Her eyes widened with fear. The mark reacted instantly to fear. It always had. She felt heat rising again. "Stop," she whispered, but they kept closing in. Before they could touch her, a sharp voice echoed through the garden. "Enough." All the aliens turned. The instructor from earlier approached slowly, his purple eyes shining. "Bullying will not be tolerated," he said. "Return to your dorms, now." The students scattered, annoyed but unwilling to argue with the teacher. The instructor looked at Era with a gentle expression. "Do not hide yourself so much that you forget your worth," he said softly. Era bowed her head. "Thank you." She wished she could believe his words. She returned to her dorm later that night and sat on her bed, staring at her hands. Around her, the academy was loud with laughter and alien music. No one noticed the quiet human girl sitting alone in her room. She took off her shoes, then slowly unwound her scarf. The golden mark lay across her skin like a pattern of glowing lines, shaped almost like scales. It pulsed faintly as if breathing. "I know," she whispered to it. "You want to wake up, but not yet. Not until I understand how to control you. Not until I know the galaxy is ready." The mark glowed softly, then faded again. Era wrapped the scarf back around her neck and lay down. She stared at the ceiling for a long time. Tomorrow would bring more classes. More whispers. More mocking, but she would endure. Humans always endured, and though no one in the academy knew it yet, a day would come when the same students who laughed at her would see what she truly was, but that day was still far away. For now, Era closed her eyes and hoped her power stayed asleep just a little longer. The next morning came slowly for Era. The academy lights brightened with a soft glow that mimicked sunrise, though the planet itself had no sun visible from this region. Era rose from her bed, rubbing her eyes and tightening the scarf around her neck with practiced motions. The mark beneath it was calm today. She hoped it would stay that way. She walked through the hallways quietly as other students hurried past her. Many of them were excited today. The cooperative trials were only 1 week away, and everyone was preparing. Posters filled the walls showing images of past teams, glowing energy fields, floating obstacles, and groups of aliens smiling with victory medals. Humans had never won the trials. In truth, most humans never even joined. They usually preferred classes, research, or observation roles. But Ira had dreamed, since she received her acceptance letter, of joining the trials at least once. She wanted to prove something, not just to others, but to herself. As she walked to class, she heard voices behind her. A group of tall Vornic students, covered in silver scales, were talking loudly. Their leader, Karan, was among them. He always walked with his chin high, his confident steps echoing through the halls. "We will win again," Karan said proudly. "My team will break last year's record. No one can match our strength." His friends nodded eagerly, agreeing with every word. Ira tried to pass quietly, but one of them noticed her. "Look," he snorted. "The human girl is here. Do you think she will try to join the trials?" Karan laughed. "A one-person human team? That would be the funniest thing in the galaxy." The others laughed too. Ira kept walking, pretending not to hear. She held her scarf gently, reminding herself to stay calm. When she reached the training hall, she took a seat in the corner as usual. The instructor entered soon after, carrying a stack of data pads. "Good morning, students," he began. "As you know, the cooperative trials are close. Today we will practice for the Gravity Course 1 of the main events." The room buzzed with excitement. Platforms floated above the floor at different heights, spinning slowly. Some tilted, some jumped up and down. The course looked challenging even from a distance. "Form your teams," the instructor said. Students rushed to their groups. Bright, colorful clusters formed everywhere, each team discussing strategy. Era stood alone. She waited quietly, hoping maybe someone would ask her to join, but no one did. The instructor noticed and walked over to her. He spoke softly so no one else could hear. "You do not have a team?" Era shook her head. "No one wants a human." His expression softened. "You may train alone for now, but do not lose hope. The trials are about unity, not numbers. A single person can still surprise the galaxy." Era nodded, grateful for his kindness. When her turn came, she stepped onto the first platform. The gravity field around her shifted instantly. Her legs felt lighter, then heavier, then light again. She stumbled once but caught herself. She breathed slowly, remembering her training. In moments like these, the mark under her scarf sometimes reacted, but she needed to keep it asleep. She focused on her steps instead. One platform after another moved under her feet. She jumped, twisted, dodged, and balanced. She felt the air move around her. The world seemed quieter up here. The energy felt calmer. She moved faster, more gracefully. Even she was surprised at how natural it felt. When she reached the final platform, she landed softly. A murmur spread across the hall. Many teams stared at her, some with confusion, some with disbelief. Karan looked annoyed. "Beginner's luck," he muttered. His friends nodded in agreement. Though their eyes said otherwise, after training ended, Era stayed behind to practice more. She waited until everyone left, then climbed the platforms again. She tried harder routes, higher jumps, quicker movements. Hours passed. Her scarf whipped in the air as she trained. Sweat covered her forehead. But she did not stop. She wanted to be better. She needed to be better. When she finally dropped to the floor, breathing hard, she felt a faint warmth under her scarf. She touched it carefully. "Not now," she whispered. "Please stay calm." The mark dimmed again, but she knew it would not stay asleep forever. The next day, Era visited the registration office for the trials. A bored alien clerk with long ears looked up at her. He asked. Era hesitated. I'm alone." The clerk blinked. "Alone? Are you sure?" "Yes," he tapped on his tablet. "Name of participant?" "Era," he typed again. "Species?" "Human." He paused, eyebrows rising. "You know humans don't usually join these trials, yes?" Era nodded. "I know." He studied her face for a moment, then smiled softly. Very well. Welcome to the trials, era of Earth. May your courage guide you. She bowed her head in thanks and walked out. By evening, the news spread everywhere. A human joined the trials. Alone? Impossible? Why would she do that? She will be crushed on the first obstacle. Era ignored the whispers as she made her way to the quiet garden. She sat under the glowing tree again. The wind was soft tonight. It carried the sound of alien birds singing. She closed her eyes. Her scarf lay gently against her skin. I can do this, she whispered. I have to try. The mark pulsed faintly, as if answering. During the following week, she trained every day and every night. She practiced the gravity platforms, the energy puzzles, the strength tests, and the team coordination drills even though she had no team. She learned how to adapt the exercises for one person. She took notes, studied recordings, and watched how other species moved. Sometimes she failed. Sometimes she fell hard. Sometimes she sat on the ground with shaking legs, wondering if she had made a mistake, but each time she stood back up. She always stood back up. Humans were good at that. One night, as she practiced in an empty hall, Karan walked in with two of his teammates. They watched her silently for a moment, then approached. You train a lot for someone who will lose, Karan said. Era glanced at him. I train because I must. He smirked. And do you really think a human can beat a Vornix team? I think effort can beat arrogance, she answered quietly. His eyes narrowed. Is that so? Then show me. He jumped onto the platforms, activating the challenge. The platforms spun faster than usual, reacting to his heavy energy signature. Era quickly followed. They leaped from one platform to another. The air filled with tension. Karan moved with sharp, powerful movements. Era moved with soft, controlled steps. She had no natural alien strength. She had only balance, timing, and endless hours of practice. When Karan made a wide jump to the final platform, he landed with a hard thud and raised his arms proudly. Era jumped next. But as she did, the gravity field shifted suddenly. She lost her balance midair. She gasped. She was falling. Before she hit the ground, she felt something spark inside her. The mark reacted. Power surged through her body. Not fully, not dangerously, just enough. Her fall slowed. She twisted slightly, landing safely on her knees. Karan stared at her. What was that? He demanded. Era stood quickly, holding her scarf with shaking hands. Nothing. Just luck, but Karan didn't look convinced. His eyes followed the edges of her scarf. There is something strange about you, human. I will find out what it is. Era felt fear climb her chest. She turned away. Please stop. I do not want trouble. Karan stepped closer. Then stay out of the trials. Era shook her head. No, I won't. He stared at her for a long moment, then walked away, his steps loud with annoyance when she was alone again. Era dropped to her knees, holding her scarf tightly. She felt the mark throb, glowing faintly. I know, she whispered. You tried to help, but you must stay hidden. Not yet. Not until I am ready. The glow faded once more. Finally, the day of the trials arrived. The academy buzzed with excitement. Students filled the arena stands, cheering for their favorite teams. Bright banners hung everywhere. The air shimmered with energy. Era stepped into the arena entrance alone. Her scarf fluttered behind her. Her heart beat fast. She could feel many alien eyes on her, watching, judging, waiting to see her fall, but she walked forward anyway. Whatever happened today, she would face it with courage. She was human. And humans always stood up. No matter how many times they were pushed down, the air inside the human research vessel felt heavy as the crew moved through narrow metal halls. Every step echoed softly, mixing with the low hum of the engines. The ship was old, but the crew trusted it. They had traveled far across unknown space, and now they followed a signal that came from a planet covered in dark clouds. The signal was weak, but it carried a strange pattern, something that felt almost like a message. No one could explain how it made them feel watched. Commander Rian stood near the main window and looked at the swirling gray clouds below. His face was calm, but his thoughts were restless. The humans had faced many alien species before, but this time there was something different. Something quiet. Something hidden. He did not know if it was an enemy or a lost civilization waiting for help. Still, he felt a strong pull to understand it. The crew gathered in the control room. Lights flickered on their faces, and the screens showed broken symbols that looked like they were carved by a shaking hand. The ship's AI tried to decode them, but it only produced a single word again and again: warning. No one liked hearing that. But humans were known for pushing forward even when danger stood in their way. The landing was rough. The wind pushed against the ship, and the engines shook as they lowered onto hard ground. When the door opened, cold air rushed in. The landscape was empty, with cracked black stones and tall shapes standing far away like silent guards. The fog moved around them as if it was alive. Rian felt it touch his skin, cold and almost curious. The team walked toward the tall shapes. As they came closer, they realized these were ancient machines, broken and covered in thin layers of strange dust. The machines were taller than buildings, and their surfaces had marks like long claws had dragged across them. Rian moved closer and touched the metal. It vibrated softly under his fingers. Farther ahead, a faint light glowed in the darkness. It led them toward a deep valley. Inside the valley was a large structure, half buried under the rocks. The walls of the structure were smooth and made from a material the crew did not recognize. It did not look like something built by hand. Rian felt his pulse quicken. This place was older than anyone could imagine. As they entered, the air shifted around them. A slow sound echoed through the halls like something breathing far away. The walls were covered in carvings, but the carvings were not like any language. They looked like memories trapped in stone. Images of stars collapsing, ships running from something, and silhouettes of creatures with long arms and hollow eyes inside the central chamber. A sphere floated in the air. The sphere emitted a soft blue glow, and the carvings on. The walls seemed to move in response. Rian stepped closer. The sphere pulsed like a heartbeat, and suddenly the room filled with a bright light. The crew covered their eyes. When the light faded, a hologram appeared in front of them. It was not human and not any known alien species. It was tall and had thin, transparent skin where light moved like water. The figure's voice came out soft but heavy with emotion. It spoke in broken words the AI quickly translated. We died here. We warn, they come. They find all. They do not stop. The crew listened in silence as the hologram continued. It showed images of a species that had lived peacefully for ages. They were explorers, dreamers, and builders. But then something came from outside their star system. A force without shape, without mercy. The hologram showed planets turning dark, ships falling apart in seconds, and entire cities crushed by invisible waves. The figure turned its bright eyes toward Rian. You strong. You fight. You must stand. Or all end. Before anyone could respond, the sphere cracked. The hologram flickered and vanished. The ground shook. Something powerful woke beneath the structure. The crew ran toward the exit as the walls began to collapse. Dust filled the air, and the floor broke apart behind them. They reached the surface, gasping for breath. The ancient machines around them lit up for the first time in ages. Their deep cores glowed red, and the fog pulled away, forming a clear path back to the ship. It felt like the planet itself was telling them to leave. When they boarded the vessel, the engines roared faster than usual, as if they understood the danger too. The ship lifted off the ground just as the valley exploded in a wave of dark energy that shot into the sky. Rian watched through the window as the planet's surface cracked like thin ice. Silence filled the ship. Everyone looked at Rian, waiting for his decision. He knew what he had to do. Humans always stood up when others fell. They were stubborn, brave, and sometimes foolish. But they never ran forever. We warn the colonies, he said quietly. We prepare. We fight. The ship turned toward human space. The stars ahead looked peaceful, but Rian knew that peace would not last. Something ancient and relentless was coming. something that had already destroyed worlds stronger than humanity, but humans had a history of surprising the universe. They had fought impossible battles and survived impossible odds. They had turned weakness into strength and fear into courage. Rian felt that fire growing again in his chest. This time, they would not just survive. They would stand for every species that had fallen before them. They would show the universe why humans were feared, respected, and remembered. The journey back was long and silent. Some crew members slept, some stared at empty screens, and others simply sat with their thoughts. But they all felt the same thing, the weight of the message they carried. It was not just a warning. It was a responsibility. As the ship crossed into familiar space, the stars seemed brighter. Rian opened a channel to the nearest human outpost. When the message began transmitting, he felt the fear inside him turn into resolve. Humanity had faced darkness many times. They had been broken, tested, and pushed to the edge, but they always returned stronger. This time would be no different. This time they would rise, not just for themselves, but for every voice that had been silenced. The crew watched the stars ahead, each one a reminder of the countless lives depending on them. The engines glowed brighter, and the ship sped forward. Carrying with it the spark of human defiance, the universe would soon learn something important. Humanity never walks away. They stand, they endure, and when the darkness comes, they burn brighter than ever. The night grew darker around the camp, but the humans did not sleep. Their small fire burned like a quiet heart in the center of their circle, and Mara sat close to it, staring into the flames. The warmth touched her face, but it did not calm the storm inside her. She felt something growing under her skin, something she did not understand yet. The dragon mark on her shoulder pulsed softly, like it was breathing with her. She did not know if it was a warning or a promise. Jack sat beside her. He watched her carefully, not with fear, but with concern. His voice was low. "You did something back there. Something impossible." Mara did not answer. She did not know what to say. She had no memory of lifting the scout into the air. She only remembered the pain in her chest, the heat in her blood, and then everything exploding like a storm. General Arcos stood a short distance away, speaking quietly with two other soldiers. They looked shaken, even though they tried to hide it. Mara could feel their nervous eyes on her. Even when they pretended not to stare, she wrapped her scarf tighter, hiding the mark. She wished she could hide herself completely. Jack leaned closer. "We'll figure it out. You're not alone, Mara." Mara looked at him, and a small spark of comfort touched her heart, but it faded quickly. She knew things were changing, and she feared what those changes meant. Above them, in the star-filled sky, something moved. It was fast, like a shadow sliding across the stars. No one noticed except Mara. The mark on her shoulder tingled when she looked at it. She felt like the sky itself was watching her. The next morning, General Arcos gave the order to move. The aliens would not give up. They had already sent scouts. Soon they would send full hunters. They walked through the dusty paths of the canyon, moving in silence. Mara walked in the middle, guarded on all sides. She hated being treated like something fragile, but she said nothing. By noon, they reached the ruins of an old human outpost. Metal walls broken in half, sand covering old machines, and shattered satellites lying like bones. It was abandoned years ago, but it still offered some protection. Arcos pointed at the remains of the command tower. "We rest here for now. Jack, see if you can get the old sensors working." "We need eyes." Jack nodded and hurried off. Mara followed him without thinking. She did not want to sit alone. The inside of the tower smelled like metal dust and old wires. Jack climbed onto a console and pulled open a panel. The cables inside were cracked but still connected. "You can help," Jack said. "Hand me tools." Mara picked up a small device and passed it to him. Jack smiled. "You learn fast." She felt a small warmth in her chest. She liked helping. It made her feel normal, but her peace did not last. The dragon mark suddenly pulsed again. Hard. Her breath caught. Her fingers tightened around the wires. Her vision blurred. She felt heat moving through her chest and shoulder. "Mara? You okay?" Jack asked. Before she could answer, the console lit up on its own. Sparks jumped. The screens flickered like dying stars, and then everything turned on. Jack froze. I didn't even connect the power yet. Mara staggered back. She knew it was because of her. She didn't know how, but she felt the energy rushing from her hand into the machine. Outside the tower, alarms suddenly echoed. Arcos shouted, "Everyone ready! We have movement." Mara and Jack ran outside. Soldiers raised their weapons. Dust rose from the horizon. Shapes moved through the sand fast, crawling, sharp. Arcos cursed under his breath. Hunters. They found us. The hunters were alien creatures made of dark, plated armor with long arms and glowing blue eyes. They moved like spiders, but faster. They surrounded the ruins. Mara felt her heart pounding. Her breath grew heavy. The mark burned like fire under her scarf. The hunters charged. Human rifles opened fire. Bright shots cut through the air. The hunters leaped between the blasts. Closing the distance, one of them jumped toward Mara. Jack screamed her name, but Mara was frozen. She felt the heat filling her whole body. She felt the ground under her feet tremble as if something deep inside it answered her. The hunter landed in front of her. Its jaws opened. Her scarf slipped from her. Shoulder. The dragon mark ignited. Light burst out of it, golden, sharp, alive. The hunter flew backward, hitting the wall so hard the metal cracked. Every human stopped firing. Every hunter paused. Mara stood in the open, her scarf hanging loose. The golden light swirled around her arm like living fire. She looked. Terrified. The ground shook. Again. Something answered her power. A deep roar rolled through the sky, a sound that did not belong to any alien machine. It was ancient, heavy, full of strength. The hunters looked up. For the first time, they hesitated. Arcos shouted, "What was that sound?" No one answered. Because in the sky, the shadow that Mara saw the night before returned. It circled above the ruins like a giant wing of darkness. Mara could not move. The light around her arm faded slowly, but the heat inside her did not disappear. Jack ran to her and grabbed her shoulders. "Mara, are you hurt?" She shook her head, though she felt like her whole body was burning. Arcos approached, but slowly. He looked at her with a mixture of awe and fear. "The mark. You said it was just a birthmark." "I didn't know," Mara whispered. "I really didn't." Another roar echoed across the canyon, louder this time. The shadow in the sky grew larger. Jack stared at it, eyes wide. "That's, not a ship?" Arcos gripped his weapon. "Everyone fall back. Regroup inside the outpost." But no one moved. Something massive was descending, wings spread wide. Like storm clouds, scales glowed faintly like embers, a creature older than any story. Larger than any machine and stronger than any alien weapon, a dragon. It lowered itself slowly, its wings stirring the sand into a swirling storm. The hunters backed away in fear. Even the aliens knew what they faced. The dragon's golden eyes locked onto Mara. And Mara felt her dragon mark burn with the same golden light. Everyone around her stepped back. Jack whispered, "Mara, I think it's here for you." Mara swallowed hard. She did not feel fear. She felt recognition. The dragon bent its massive head toward her. The earth trembled under its weight. It spoke, but not with sound. Its voice entered, her mind like a warm flame. "You have awakened." Mara gasped. Her knees almost buckled. Jack grabbed her arm. To keep her steady, the dragon's voice continued. "The blood of the first flame burns within you. You are not only human. You are born of us." Mara shook her head in disbelief. "I'm just a girl. I'm no one." The dragon's eyes softened. "You are more than you ever believed." General Arcos stared at them like he was witnessing a dream. The hunters slowly retreated, sensing the danger around them, but the dragon turned its gaze toward the horizon. "The enemy you face is older than humans, older than dragons. They will not stop. They will hunt you until the flame inside you is theirs." Mara stepped back, fear gripping her heart again. "Why me? Why do they want this?" "Because the one who carries the flame can command dragons. The dragon answered. Jack's breath caught. Arcos's eyes widened. Mara stared at the creature. Unable to speak, the dragon lowered its head again. Come, the time has come to learn what you truly are. Mara looked at Jack. He nodded, fear and pride mixed in his eyes. Go, we'll follow. She stepped toward the dragon. The mark on her shoulder glowed in answer. She did not know what waited ahead, but she knew one thing. Her life would never be the same again. The dragon lowered its enormous wing, forming a ramp of warm scales for Mara to climb. The wind from its breath brushed against her face, carrying the smell of smoke and ancient storms. She hesitated only for a moment before stepping onto its wing. Jack and the soldiers watched with wide eyes, unsure whether what they were seeing was a dream or the start of something far greater. Mara's heart pounded. Everything inside her felt like fire and fear mixed together. But she did not pull back. She climbed until she reached the dragon's neck, where the scales were smooth and faintly glowing. She placed her hand there, and the dragon lowered its head, accepting her touch. Jack whispered from below, "Be careful." "Please," Mara met his eyes. "I'll come back." She hoped her voice sounded stronger than she felt. The dragon spread its wings. A strong gust of wind lifted sand and loose debris from the ground. Soldiers shielded their eyes. Even the hunters in the distance retreated farther, clearly terrified. Then, the dragon launched itself into the sky. The world dropped away beneath Mara, the ruins. The soldiers, the canyons all became small and distant. Her scarf flapped wildly as the wind roared past her ears. She clung to the dragon's scales, but she was not afraid. Something inside her felt right, as if this was where she belonged. The dragon's voice entered her mind again. "Hold tight. We go to a place only dragons remember." They flew across the desert and into a region covered by dark clouds. Lightning cracked inside the storm, but the dragon soared through it with ease, as if the storm welcomed it. Then the clouds opened. Mara gasped. Below them was a hidden valley filled with glowing rivers. Tall mountains shaped like giant fangs and caves that shined like stars. Strange plants shimmered with blue light, and the air felt heavy with ancient power. The dragon descended into the valley and landed near a lake that glowed like molten gold. Mara slid down from its wing and looked around in awe. "What is this place?" she asked softly. "The Valley of Embers," the dragon answered. "The birthplace of the first flame. The place where your ancestors once stood?" Mara shook her head. "I'm human. I have no ancestors here." The dragon's eyes watched her gently. "Not all humans are the same. A long time ago, before history was written, dragons and humans formed a pact. Some humans carried our fire. Some carried our spirit. And a rare few carried our blood." Mara stepped back. "You're saying I'm one of those?" "You are the last," the dragon said. "The final child of the flame. That is why the aliens want you." Mara felt the heat rise inside her chest again. She held her shoulder, feeling the dragon mark pulse. "But I don't know how to use this power," she said. "I don't even understand it." "That is why you are here. To learn." The dragon turned toward the glowing lake. "Come," Mara followed, feeling the warm ground beneath her boots. The lake's surface rippled like living fire. The dragon spoke. "Place your hand in the flame water. It will not burn you." Mara knelt. Her hand trembled as she lowered it into the glowing surface. Instead of pain, she felt warmth spread up her arm, filling her whole body. Images flashed before her eyes, dragons flying across old skies, humans standing beside them. Battles against monsters older than memory. Then she saw something that made her breath stop. She saw the aliens, but they were different, stronger, darker, filled with a strange hunger. They were attacking a dragon's nest. They took something. Something glowing. Mara pulled her hand out, gasping. The dragon nodded. "They stole the heart of flame. Without it, our kind is dying. And now they want the only living connection left to you." Mara swallowed hard. "What do I do?" "You learn to awaken your flame." For the next hours, maybe longer, she wasn't sure, Mara trained. The dragon taught her how to breathe slowly, how to focus the heat inside her, how to bring it into her hands without losing control. At first, nothing happened. Then sparks appeared. Then small flames. Then fire shaped like golden ribbons. Every moment felt like her body was waking from a long sleep, but she also felt something else. A shadow. Something was approaching. The dragon sensed it too. Its eyes lifted toward the sky. They are coming. Mara stepped back. Already? They have followed your flame, the dragon said. We must return. The humans are in danger. Mara felt fear spike in her chest, but also bravery she never had before. Take me back. The dragon lowered its wing again. As she climbed up, she asked, Will the humans be okay? If we are fast, the dragon answered. Hold on. They launched into the sky again, faster than before. Mara felt her dragon mark grow hotter with every second. When they reached the canyon, Mara's heart twisted. Smoke rose from the ruins. Human soldiers were fighting desperately. Alien hunters leaped over broken walls, surrounding them. Jack stood at the front, firing again and again, refusing to fall back. Jack, Mara whispered. The dragon roared, a sound so powerful the ground cracked. The hunters looked up in terror as the dragon swooped down, blasting them away with a wave of golden flame. Mara jumped off before the dragon fully landed. She ran toward Jack, who turned in shock. Mara, you're back. Before he finished, a hunter leaped toward him. Mara didn't think. Her body moved on its own. She raised her arm. Golden fire exploded from her hand and hit the hunter midair, sending it crashing into a wall. Jack stared at her with disbelief. You can control it now. Not fully, Mara said. But enough. The dragon fought behind her, its flames turning the battlefield into a storm of light. Hunters screamed and scattered, but more crawled from the cliffs. General Arcos shouted orders. Protect Mara. Don't let them reach her. But the aliens weren't aiming for Mara. They were aiming for the dragon. A huge alien figure stepped out of the smoke tall, armored, holding a spear glowing with dark energy. Its voice hissed through a translator. Give us the flame, child. Mara stepped forward. I'm not going anywhere with you. The alien raised its spear. Then the dragon dies. It hurled the spear. Everything slowed. The dragon roared, trying to dodge. But the spear was too fast. Mara felt something inside her break open. The heat surged through her body like a river of light. She screamed. Her dragon mark burst with golden fire. She ran forward. Flames surrounding her feet. She jumped. She caught the spear in midair. The energy slammed into her. But she held it with both hands, fire pouring from her skin. The spear cracked, then shattered. The alien stepped back in shock. Mara landed, breathing hard. Fire swirled around her like an aura. You will not hurt them, she said. Her voice echoed with a strange power, not just human. The alien hissed and retreated. The hunters fled with it, disappearing into the canyon. Silence fell. The dragon lowered its head. You have awakened fully. Jack rushed to Mara. He grabbed her shoulders, checking her for injuries. You're alive? You're really okay. Mara smiled weakly. I told you I'd come back. General Arcos approached, staring at her with awe. What do we do now? The dragon answered, Now the true war begins. But the flame has chosen its bearer. And with her, humanity may stand a chance. Mara looked at the dragon, then at Jack, then at the battlefield. Her life had changed completely, but she was no longer afraid. She lifted her scarf, tied it around her arm, and stood tall, a human girl with fire in her blood, a dragon behind her. And a future waiting to be written.